It's Mental Health Awareness Week. Are you aware of mental health? I bet you are, because you're probably mad. You've probably got mental health issues. Certainly 1 in 4 people at some time in their life will, but don't you think sort of everybody at some point is experiencing what you might classify as mental health issues? Some things that could be classified as mental health problems are simply responses to sad, irritating or annoying events. My approach to mental health is a spiritual as well as psychotherapeutic one. Let's look right now at the basics. Sadness and depression. I suppose the difference between sadness and depression is you have entered into a state where you are unable to leave a state of sadness. You are unable to alter your feelings. Most pathological or acute conditions suggest there's nothing you can do, or it feels at least like there's nothing you can do. You know, when people talk about depression, many people say, well, it's a chemical problem, it's a biochemical problem. By reaching a material conclusion around a subject like depression, you often prohibit the possibility for change. I recognize why people do it. One, because it could be factually accurate. There is perhaps and probably likely, almost certainly, a chemical component to any neurological or anatomical or biochemical condition. But by concluding that, oh, well, it's a biochemical condition, you're almost saying it's intransigent and cannot be altered but for pharmacologically. Now, some people have mental health problems that require some sort of pharmaceutical solution, and if that's what's been prescribed to you by a doctor or suggested to you by a medical professional, that's well outside of my sphere and it's none of my business. My new approach to good self-care is based on what I call the construction of indices. Indices is simply the plural of the word index, and I love saying it. It makes me feel clever and important. How you create this index is to look at the areas of your life. There's your relationships, there's your work, there's your solitary time, your leisure, your health, your diet. Look at these categories. Don't try to be entirely exhaustive. Just look at the main ones and give yourself a little score from 0 to 10 on how you think you're performing in that area. Like, if you don't do any exercise, that's a 0. If you exercise 3 times a week but think you should be doing it 4 or 5 times a week, then you're around 7. Of course, this is somewhat arbitrary. There is no sort of standardization. There's not an independent body that's going to come in and say, you've given yourself 7 out of 10 for diet and you had that Toblerone on Wednesday, get out. It's not how it's going to work. It's more to give yourself an idea of measurement in these areas. So look at your relationships, look at your work, look at your self-care with regard to your health, your exercise, how tidy your house is, how clean your car is. Look at these areas and give yourself a little score in each of them areas. For example, look, if I was going to do it, I'd go like this. I'd go like, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a dog owner, I'm a 12-step person, I'm a driver, right? These are all jobs I've got to do in my little life. Forgive the handwriting. As I said, I'm not a doctor, except perhaps in the area of handwriting. Little doctor joke for you there. As a dad, right, if I'm like not spending any time alone with my kids, or I'm not taking responsibility for feeding them or hanging out with them, I'm going to get a low score. How I set the standard is me as a working dad and my wife as a working mum. We've got to share the responsibilities. Maybe if I spend time on my own with them 3 times a week, I can give myself like a good score there of like 7 or 8. If I've not taken them to school and outsourced that all to my wife, then I'm going to give myself a lower score. Do you see what I mean? By recognizing some of the time I'm a father, how am I doing in that role? Husband, that means, am I looking at my wife as someone I'm taking from or someone I'm in the service of? If I'm like, regularly listening to my wife, being supportive of her, not looking at her as a person who's got to take responsibility for my emotions, I'm going to make mistakes in those areas. It's not that I've got to get 10 out of 10. It's that I've got to know that there is a score. It's like I've got to know there is a standard. As a dog owner, I have to walk him every day. I have to feed him twice a day. I have to ensure that he gets the medications that he wants. I do pretty well in that area because loving that dog comes pretty easy to me. But guess what? I'm not just a dog owner. I'm a cat owner. I've got like 2 cats, 6 kittens. Oh my God, the score there is plummeting. Okay, so like being aware of my pets and taking care of my pets is a significant part of my life. And as a 12-step person, I have to get together in groups, be supportive of others, be accountable through my sharing, and make sure that I'm available to assist other people. So The first thing I'm suggesting is an inventory of the areas of your life where you give yourself a score. Remember, we're not mathematicians. We're not doing this at Cambridge Analytica. And if we were, there'd be problems because, as we know, there were some complexities around the way that little group were operating. We're doing this on a colloquial, local level. Just giving ourselves a score. How am I driving? Bumper sticker recovery. How am I driving? How am I doing as a dad? How is my prayer and meditation? These areas, prayer, meditation, sharing with other people, physical fitness, dietary health, these areas that can all be modulated, i.e. understood as something that's not ethereal, they're practical, clear things, can be tracked and registered and, what do I want to say, ding, 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 there's a barometer. They can be measured. So let's have a little look at where we've gone so far. An index across the roles of our life, making sure that we have sharing with other people, honestly. Like, be honest and transparent now. Is there anything in your life that's troubling you that you've not shared with anyone else, like feelings of guilt or shame or pain? Guilt, shame, trauma, these are the conditions that lead you to have deeper and more consequential mental health problems if they're not addressed. So having good, clear communication with someone, or ideally multiple people, and even more ideal still with people that are not totally invested in your life, i.e. of course I have to have open and clear communication with my wife, but I also need other people so that I don't burden my life partner with all of the considerable freight of my neurosis and madness. I like to apportion that stuff out across a variety of people. Prayer and meditation means that I'm not wholly dependent on the outside world for approval. The problem I think we have in our time is that our culture is not entirely predicated on your well-being. Essentially, I feel that there's a lot of toxicity in culture that directs you and your impulses towards outcomes that are not beneficial for you, but are beneficial to certain aspects, components, strata of that culture. Prayer, meditation, community connection mean that you're not being entirely defined by the values of your culture. You know, you might consider yourself to be sad, depressed, or anxious because you don't feel like you've achieved enough in life. Well, sometimes I've had to sit back and reflect on where I got those goals from. Why is it I wanted to achieve in certain areas, whether that's in my personal or professional life? Where did I acquire the criteria from? The key to good mental health is awareness. So mental health awareness, being aware of mental health as a subject, is a peculiar, curious, and oddly apposite title because awareness is ultimately the solution. Create an index to become aware of the challenges in your life. Make sure you're sharing with another person so your awareness is increased by another person's perspective. Spend time in prayer and meditation to increase your deeper awareness of who you are and what you want, so you don't just operate on the thin bandwidth of localized consciousness continually stimulated by external conditions. And as I always say, and have to be continually reminded myself, be aware of the suffering of others and the challenges of others and help them where possible. Because frankly, in my experience, if you spend all your time obsessing about yourself, feelings of fear, sadness and despair, not to say that those aren't real feelings and that there aren't real reasons to feel those feelings, if you ruminate on them and feel imprisoned by them, my experience is that these problems increase. Whereas if you pray and meditate, share with other people, belong to a community, and inventory in a simple way that you can manage with the support of someone else, progress and change is possible. So for Mental Health Awareness Week, become aware of your own mental health, become aware of other people's mental health, and become aware that there are solutions, that many of the feelings that we diagnose as being problematic or negative are actually information that can serve as the beginning of meaningful and real change. If you liked that, please press like because it helps the video to get circulated more widely if you like it. Please subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to build up the subscribers because as well as that rather intense political stuff I do on the other channel, I want to focus on how we can individually and collectively help one another change and improve our mental health. Please comment. I read the comments. If you want to see videos on other subjects, we check them all, and if you want a video, there's only a few thousand subscribers. If you tell us now, we'll probably make a video exactly about the problems you're experiencing in your life right now. And please go over to russellbrand.com and sign up to my mailing list as well. Thanks for watching.